Ciao. Today we're going to have a look at Italy's most well-known wine, Chianti. I'm Trent.
And I'm Jason, and we're two guys on an unfiltered and unapologetically unprofessional wine journey. And our saying here is drink more, try more, learn more. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And so thoughts of the week, Trent, we recently had a discussion with Sean from Shiraz and Mataz, a fellow wine enthusiast who's got a great site on Instagram. And we were talking to him about it and about wine. And he said a statement. He said something to the effect of, you shouldn't be paying more than $50 for wine. Mm-hmm. Something to that effect. Like there's a certain price point where it just takes it a bit over the edge. And $50 was what Sean's price point was. And it made me think, you know what? I agree. I think there should be a limit. There's only so much that wine can take you to. Mm-hmm. And then there's an element of marketing. And you could be paying $100, $200, $300 more. And how much of that is actually related to the quality of the wine versus the hype and promotion that's gone around there? So I wanted to have a look on the internet and see, what is that price point? Mm-hmm. How much should you be paying? And so I had a look at a couple of great sources. One of them we always talk about, ChatGPT. Yeah. ChatGPT says you should pay $50 or more. Lines up with Sean. Yeah. Wine Folly says you should be paying between $45 to $80. And this is all in Australian dollars, by the way. Vivino says $50. Mm-hmm. And What's in the Bottle, another site, says $75 AU. So there's a bit of a range there between 45 to 75. Yeah. But you can tell the moment you're hitting three digits, there's a bit of a concern. Yeah. Maybe you're paying for the hype. And the Asian tightness in me said, yes, let's try and get that price as low as possible. Yeah. So I wanted to work out what it was. And there are a lot of factors to consider. And what really stood out when doing the research was a winery has specific expenses each winery has to pay. They have to pay for it regardless. Mm-hmm. They have to pay for the duties. They have to pay for the logistics. They have to pay for the manufacturing of the bottle. And that already costs X portion of the amount. Yeah. And so if the wine is the other portion of that and say you're going for a $10 wine, then you've got to really think how much of that is really good quality. Mm-hmm. And so those are the factors to consider. There was a quote from Naked Wines Australia. They say that less than 80 cents worth of wine is in a $7 bottle. But spend $15 and you get 4 times more wine for your money. Yeah. So it's kind of saying if you go really cheap, the quality of the wine's not going to be that great. Yes. You bump it up a bit more and you're getting 4 times better quality wine. So
there's like a base price, and then on top of that one, then you pay for the wine itself. So closer towards the base price, the less wine actually paying for it. Yes. That makes sense.
And so that's at the lower end of the scale. And then if you go to the higher end of the scale, you're paying for the hype, you're paying for the advertising, etc. So what's that tipping point?
I think that's the same with all markets. So I'm thinking about clothes or anything like that as well, right? You could pay 4 or 5 figures for your Yeezys or whatever like that. But then you also pay your $50 for your Dunlop Volleys, which still does the same job.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And so for those that, money is something to consider, such as myself, you want to strike that right balance between great quality wine and lesser along the advertising and the marketing side to it.
So is $50 the right price point then?
And so that's what I wanted to do. And I went back and looked at a really great portfolio called the Wind Up Podcast.
Oh, wow.
To see.
I've heard of that. Heard it's really great.
Yeah, it's a fantastic one. And I wanted to see what is it that we were purchasing that we thought were quite good. And I want to remind you on a few of the wines that we've had. So Yangara Estate Grenache, $45. Oak Ridge Estate Hazeldean, $40. Clonakilla Shiraz, $40. Ridoc Pastoralist, $40. Right? And there's a bit of a common theme here. I think you can pay for very good wines at around the $40 mark, maybe going up to $50. That $40 to $50 range, you're probably getting a sweet point.
Do you think it's also a case like when you buy something and then it's not good, you feel like you're not missing out as much when you only paid $40 compared to $100? Yes. I think there's that expectation when you actually pay more for something that's going to be outstanding, and you're kind of leaving yourself to be disappointed as a result of it.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of commentary out there was around you're paying, let's say you pay $100, $200 for a wine and it comes out corked. What a disappointment to spend all of that money. So if you're reducing that price point, there's less chance of disappointment, but also
risk mitigation, I call it.
Risk mitigation, but also your wallet's thanking you for it. You've still got some cash in there. So that's something I wanted to share. Let us know in the community, what do you think is the right price point, the right maximum amount to pay for wine? Sean said 50. From the Wine Up podcast, we're looking at around 40 to 50.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments below. That's what I was thinking about. What were you thinking about for the week?
I was thinking about a month ago, I did a barista course.
Oh, I didn't know this. Interesting.
So I was looking for a plan B in case I get made redundant or get sacked from my current role.
Yeah, coffee.
So I have something, an outlet to kind of get to still find some income to substitute or to pay for the Wind Up podcast, because it doesn't pay for itself.
That's right.
As we know, hence the $40 wine.
Self-funded, yep.
So what I did find, though, in kind of doing that barista course, there were a lot of similarities from wine to coffee.
Yep.
So some of the similarities that kind of popped into my head was fruit focus. So talk about the fruit of the grapes to create the wine compared to then the fruit, which is the coffee beans.
Yep.
You know, different qualities, Ethiopian, whatever like that, creates a different type of coffee, similar to for grapes.
Yep.
For wines, be it varietal or areas or the quality itself, it creates a different product at the end.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. Next one, oxygen. So for both of them, coffee and wine, oxygen is their worst friend. Oxygen creates that kind of dullness, flatness in coffee, doesn't bring out aromas. And same thing with wine as well. Obviously, if a bottle gets corked, as you kind of mentioned before, it's because it's been over-oxidized already, and the oxygen's gotten into it and leaves it flat and dull. Similar thing. Other one is also the technique as well. We think about, I guess the analogy is like, you know, you have a barista that creates the coffee, and then for winery, you have the winemaker that creates the wine. Very kind of hands-on, but then down the process, actually creating that with their hands for the product at the end, and very influential in terms of the style of the coffee or the wine that they make.
Yeah.
Temperature and pressure. So you look at making a coffee, I think like 1 bar for the water pressure, 9 bar for the steam. So you have to be quite precise in the amount of water that goes through at the right length of time. So I think around like about 30 seconds for a shot to go through. You have to adjust that during the day for humidity of the air to make sure it flows through and creates the right crema.
Yep.
At the end. I mean, for winemaking, right? Think about it. You know, you talk about cool ferments or controlling temperature during fermentation. It doesn't get too hot.
Yep.
You know, to over extract the grapes. So again, a lot of balance of the temperature to actually create the right type of flavors from the fruit of the grapes or the fruit from the bean. And then the thing that we do here is, you know, sight, smell, and also taste. And same thing for coffee as well, right? You look at the sight, you look at the froth, you look at the crema to make sure it's nice and oily and creamy coming through. Same for wine, the color, the hues that kind of you pick up off it as well. And then smell, coffee aromas, wine aromas, taste, obviously quite obvious. Coffee taste, the bitterness, the fruitiness of it, the roast that comes into play as well. And then for wine, it's quite obvious as well, different grape varieties. So I found that quite interesting how you find those similarities between coffee and wine.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it was something I was thinking about to myself. I never expressed it, but I think about extraction rates on coffee and the amount of liquid that you're getting out of the coffee beans and that coffee grind. And I kind of linked it to the basket press kind of technique. And if you extract it too much, there's a lot of bitterness that comes through, both in the coffee and in the wine. So very, very similar. Yeah, great observation.
Cool. And what have you been drinking, Jace?
Yeah, so for the week, what I've been drinking, at the start of the year, I might have mentioned this. I went to Margaret River, and at that time, we hadn't started the podcast, and my mind was only set on 2 things. I want a Shardy, and I want Cab Sav. Margaret River, I'm going to go there, and that's all I knew, which is fine. But since doing the podcast, I've certainly found out quite a few more. But when in Margaret River, I took the family to a winery called Aravina Estate, And this was a really, really picturesque winery. So beautiful garden. It was by a lake. There was, I think the owners had a helicopter, so there was a landing pad for the helicopter. Right. They're doing really good. Live band.
Yeah.
The kids were loving it. My mother and father-in-law were also there, so they had a great time. I bought a few wines there, and I bought a Aravina Estate Wildwood Ridge Reserve Chardonnay, which was about $55. And I had done the tasting on these, and I certainly said I need to get this one. But this was beautiful.
Yeah.
There was oak in there, but it was a beautiful subtle oak, cookie crumb, lemon curd flavors. Really, really enjoying the creamy texture of it all. I gave it an 8 out of 10 corkscrews and highly recommend it. I've got one more bottle. I might need to buy another case, but hopefully something I'll get to share with you at some point.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Okay, on to today's episode. And we're going to be visiting Tuscany and specifically Chianti region. What do you know about Chianti, Jess?
I know one thing, which is it's the only wine my brother drinks. Like, I went over there to visit. My brother's in London. I went over there to visit, and he said, it doesn't matter what wine you need to choose, just choose a Chianti and you can never go wrong. So it's kind of like the trusted wine from his perspective. Oh, wow. That's all I know.
Okay, cool. Well, I picked up on Chianti is the first thing is around Hannibal Lecter. Do you remember the reference there?
With the beans, is it? No.
That is with the beans. When he's in jail and he's talking to Clarice. And so, ate his liver with fava beans with a nice glass of Chianti. So that's where I got the first reference towards Chianti.
Okay.
Funnily enough, I don't know why as a kid, whether I was watching that or not. But generally, Chianti wine
itself. Some cannibalism, right?
Generally, Chianti itself. So the characteristics of Chianti, medium-bodied, high acid, cherry and earth flavors. Okay? So that's what Chianti should be. And it's also made famous, especially around the US, like perfect pairing for pizza. And then in Italy, more so, for pairing with Florentine steak.
Yeah, yum.
Hence from that Tuscan
Same area. And would you say it's the most popular wine from Italy?
The most popular grape is the Sangiovese grape, which forms part of Chianti.
Yeah.
And what you find is a lot of different wines that use that Sangiovese grape. Rosso di Montalcino, Rosso di Montepulciano, Brunello di Montalcino, Chianti, and they all use the Sangiovese grapes.
Yes.
But this one, we're going to talk about Chianti region.
So not the most popular grape, because that's wrong. It's the region itself, the most popular.
Well, the grape is the most popular, but then we're going to look at a specific region there.
Yeah, okay.
So in terms of geography, as I mentioned, it's in Tuscany. It's in between Florence and Siena. And Siena will make a beautiful name for...
Some daughter. I don't know whose, probably mine, but yeah, it's a great name.
And I mentioned the grapes that they use is Sangiovese, as they say in the industry, Sanjo is what we call them.
Did you make that up, or they really say that?
They do say that.
I thought you were trying to act. Okay.
They do say that. Based on warm climate and clay-based soil. So Chianti, there is two main DOCGs, which is kind of appellations or classified areas of growth that had rules that kind of helps bind them. One is Chianti DOCG and one is Chianti Classico DOCG.
Okay.
Confused?
I am. What's the difference?
Okay. So before, they only had one Chianti DOCG, and then after World War II, they started to create a lot more and focus more on quantity rather than quality. They started to do a lot of export out to the US with that kind of pairing towards pizza. And a lot of what Chianti was kind of got lost. And then they said, okay, we want to kind of go back to the classic way of doing it. And hence they created the Chianti Classico DOCG, which was in 1996. So in terms of the different styles, when you look at the Chianti Classico DOCG, you tend to be more high quality grapes, more focused and more concentrated wines. Again, focusing back on the quality of the grapes rather than the quantity in terms of production. Okay. So Chianti Classico, you always see the black rooster that kind of denotes Chianti Classico. They'll probably see on the bottles that we'll show later.
Yeah.
The rules is 80% Sangiovese or Sanjo, and then the rest of the 20% of other red grapes, Colorino, Canaiolo, Nero, Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and no white grapes being used. The other classification is Chianti, 70% Sangiovese, 10% white grapes, Malvasia and Trebbiano, and other grapes can be can be Canaiolo, Nero, Colorino, Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and Syrah.
Oh,
So-
see, that's interesting. I never thought it was a blend. I always thought it was just Sanjo, but
Yeah,
okay.
there are 100% Sanjo, but then there are also options to kind of mix in different things. When you think about it, Sangiovese is a bit more something medium-bodied, and you can add in the Cabernet Sauvignon to give a bit more structure. The Merlot is a bit more fleshiness around the mid-palate. So different things you can add to it. It's quite interesting. Classifications. So for both those DOCGs, they cover 4 classifications. Chianti, which is aged in for 6 months. Superiore, aged for 1 year. Reserva, aged for 2 years. And Gran Selezione, which is only specific towards Chianti Classico, aged for 2.5 years.
Okay.
So the ones today, we're going to have a normal Chianti Classico and a Chianti Classico Reserva. So one's going to be aged for 2 years at least. So I think with that, let's get on to the wines. Hope that gives you a bit of a background.
It does. It's taught me a lot, to be honest. And so the first one we're going to have is the A's,
Okay.
which is the... Let me lift it up to the screen.
Isole Olena, Chianti Classico 2020. Got this for about $60 from the local Dans. 83% Sangiovese, 50% Canaiolo, and 2% Syrah. And let's see how this is.
I also wanted to show your reference to the Black Rooster. So if you can see there on the back of the label, there is a rooster right at the top there. So most Chiantis have that.
All Chianti Classico has had that black rooster.
All Chianti Classico.
But the Chianti one doesn't.
Oh, okay. And I can show you the next bottle because it's also got it. So
Yeah, because both Chianti Classicos.
it makes sense.
So it makes sense.
All right.
Hey,
So shall we jump to the eyes, nose, and mouth? And what colors are you seeing there?
okay, again, more of a darker ruby. I wouldn't say,
Yeah.
dark ruby.
Dark ruby. There is like this onset of orange. And if we think about the gradings, you said that there's a Reserva and the base one. And the base one's...
Reserve is 2 years, but this is base one 6 months.
Yeah, okay.
So this is a 6 months. So Isole Olena is one of the kind of bigger producers, or most well-known producers in the area.
Okay.
So I was always kind of keen. I think I tried this one maybe like 10 years ago, but now
Yeah.
I've forgotten it. But keen to kind of try this one again.
All right, let's give it a whiff. As you put the Black Rooster in your nose, let's see. What are you smelling there?
I get those savory notes as well, but then the fruit's also very upfront and prominent. Like again, sour cherries, raspberries. Definitely more fruit than kind of any woodiness to it, though, right?
Yeah, I agree. I get a bit of a menthol kind of, and maybe that's purely the alcohol that's coming through, but there's a fair bit of a whiff of that menthol scent to it.
I get that definitely savory. It's not kind of light soy sauce type of thing.
Yeah, agree. All right, so let's give it a taste, and all of that together. To be honest, my mouth's already watering because it looks and smells delicious. And when you nod your head, I think you're thinking about a good song or you like the wine. Which one is it?
I nod my head when I'm processing like different complexities of the wine.
Mm-hmm.
And just it is kind of building and developing in the mouth. You get that from you get those fruits around the cherries and the raspberries come through. But then, I know, there is that kind of hint of vanilla kind of coming through, bit of leather smoke.
I feel like I've been hit with a multiple like rolling effect of different layers of complexity. Like the flavor kicks in and then the tannins kicks in and wow, that's delicious.
Those tannins are beautiful.
Yeah.
Very fine grained tannins. And it's only 20 2020. But the length of it comes back.
Ooh. Those tannins are fantastic. So
we're just having a moment, isn't it?
yeah, well, but to me, it's like I get the cherry flavors, but there's a hint of this muddy, brickish flavor that combines it, and that's kind of it rolling around in your mouth for the first couple of seconds.
Smoky leatheriness that kind of comes through.
Yeah, I get that. As I inhale a bit of oxygen, that's the scent that I get. But then the tannins kind of take over after the first 3 seconds, and they envelop the sides of your mouth.
Yeah, I like that. It has that kind of nice balance of alcohol come through, just a bit of heat and spice coming through as well.
Oh wow, I'm really liking that. That's delicious. Are we going to do corkscrew ratings?
Let's do it.
Look, based on my excitement, I'm giving that an 8 out of 10 corkscrews. Everything about it, I feel there's just different layers of complexity that I'm just enjoying. Yeah. What about you?
I think 8 out of 10 as well. 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10, and that's not even the Riserva.
That's a high 8. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so you could have gone to a 9. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. I agree. I
think you give it more time for it to breathe. It's going to develop even more. That's beautiful. Okay, great. On to B. This is provided by one of our good mates, Nathan.
Also known as Nate Dog,
otherwise known as Nick Carter as well.
In case anyone wanted to know.
And this one is 92% Sangiovese, 2% Canaiolo, 2% Colorino, 2% Mamolo, and 2% Ciliegio. How is that?
Sounds great.
12 months in wood, and then bottle for 3 months. Red fruit, floral flavors, elegant tannins, and balance. Let's see how it goes.
Was there any price points on this one?
Price points?
Yeah.
€18.90.
€18.90.
Yeah.
And what's that Aussie? I'm just trying to...
Is it about double?
It? Yeah, maybe. So $40.
Yeah.
Right, for a Riserva.
Okay, see. And this is, he said it was recommended to him when he went to a bottle shop there in Chianti.
Okay.
So this is direct from the area via plane. And
so on the eyes, very similar. Yeah. Do you see much of a difference slightly there, darker, to be honest?
Probably beige.
Okay.
Slightly darker,
slightly darker. And then on the nose, as Trent gives it a whiff, 2019. Okay. Oh, it's a different bouquet altogether. What is that?
I actually preferred the bouquet on the Isole was a bit more complex than this one though.
Yeah, I agree. I need to pour myself another drink just to compare.
This one seems
you know what? The Isole already has tertiary flavors in the scent for its age, which is surprising. That kind of mushroomy soy, 2020. And then this one, what are you getting?
I'm again smelling bright, fresh red fruits, but then not getting much else outside of that. That's why I say this one seemed a bit more simple. There's a bit more going on in this.
A bit muted on it? Yeah. Yeah, I'm certainly liking the first one. From the scent.
If you can relate to it. Blackberries, charred sage, tomato leaves, chocolate orange, and crushed gravel.
No chocolate, crushed gravel, not really. No. Let's give it a taste. Maybe that's where it will come through. It still smells good. I just definitely prefer the other one.
Tannins aren't bad, but I wouldn't say it's as fine-grained as the first one.
No. There was a softness to the first one, to be honest. Like this has a really distinct sharpness about it.
Yeah.
Same with and same with the tannin profile. Like it really stands out.
I can taste that bit of the kind of the wood treatment kind of coming through, being the Riserva. But the acid hits you first, right?
Mm.
And then the tannins, and then then the wood comes through like at 3 different components.
Not that well integrated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. There was just something about the first one where it was that soft flavors coming in your mouth with the fruits and so forth, and then the refined tannins coming through, but everything is a bit sharper in this wine.
Exactly. Like
Not
it's good. It's okay, but just not as good as the first one, I think.
I agree, and it actually makes me want to revisit the ratings because there's a distinction about it. So if I think about Corkscrew ratings, I'd give this a 7. I still enjoy it. There's some distinct characteristics about it that stand out. But if I was to compare that to the first one, I'd actually give the first one a 9 now because it's that big a gap in terms of enjoyment, in terms of the subtleties and the integration coming through.
Yeah.
What's your Corkscrew rating?
I think you're right. I'm 6 or 7 for it as well.
There's got to be a bigger gap, I guess is the message.
Because as I think more about it, I don't know, it feels that it's out of balance.
Yep.
From the acid to the tannins to the fruit, like and the alcohol as well. It's like the finish of the first one. When you compare it side by side, the finish of the first one's so much better than the second one.
Yeah. Completely agree.
Ah.
And so this is a Riserva, but so it's meant to be a better classification.
Should be more rounded, yeah.
So that's what's interesting. And to me, that just reflects the complications around wine. And that doesn't necessarily need to be a barrier for people.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you need to try a lot of different things to see what you like.
Definitely. No, that's beautiful, right? I haven't had Chiantis for a while, but very delicious experience.
My brother's made the right call. Go for Chianti every time, I think.
Anyway, should we wind it off?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Last thoughts?
So last thoughts, I think thank you for teaching me about Chianti. I actually didn't know the differences between the DOCG and the other. So it's good to know that. I think what we've seen here is an experience where you don't just necessarily need to rely on the classifications. We've got a Riserva versus the base one. And in this instance, we think the base one's better. So it's just a reflection on keep giving it a try, but great varieties to experience and expand our tasting profile. What about you? Yeah,
just through my research, I find just understanding Chianti is just so complex. Like you just read and watch and different things. I had to watch things like a few times to actually get it. But once you get it, I guess it helps you understand the wine world a bit better. And just for these ones, as you mentioned, the Riserva versus the normal Chianti Classico. So sometimes it's not so much as purely just the classifications, but the producer has a big part to how good the wines are as well. So always do watch out for the producers that you like, and then maybe try some of the other wines as well.
And I did want to show, I forgot to say, this also has the black rooster on it. So like you were saying, Chianti Classico, look for that rooster. And so that's us today. We hope you enjoyed that episode. As we like to say here, drink more, try more, learn more. Thanks all.
Ciao.
Bye.